All right. Happy Monday. Boy, oh boy, the winds of change, huh? What a weekend this was. What a weekend this was. Here we are at the Scorched Earth podcast, the sports side. Like I said, Brother Brian's going to be here in about 2 weeks, and we're going to have another site to go to. We'll keep you updated on it. But in the meantime, I think what we're going to focus on is just more of the headlines. I'm going to get to a couple of the cursory ones before we dive into the big one. Rory McIlroy won the Pebble Beach, his first start of the year. The bet I had, top 20 for Justin Rose hit. It was a nice payday, plus 675. I hope everybody out there was on it. More allegations come against Justin Tucker. It seems like he went to the Deshaun Watson School of Massage Therapy, and he decided that when he was getting massages, he would just turn over on the other side and expose his junk to these women, and hopefully they would take care of him. There'd be a happy ending one way or another, and, you know, just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Now we have 2 more women have come forward. The NFL is saying they're going to investigate. Yeah. I wonder if he would have had a stellar year instead of an off year like he did this year if this would have came forward. Call me cynical. Well, the big news this weekend, you know, I have to confess I'm a basketball fan, but I never understood why they had the trade deadline on Thursday of this week when this is the week of the Super Bowl. Well, maybe Adam Silver's a lot smarter than I give him credit for because they own the sports world topic. Forget football. We're not going to hear anything about football till Friday. The biggest trade I can remember seeing, the one that nobody saw, the one that nobody smelled, Luka Doncic went to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis and a first-round pick. There was some ancillary pieces. Utah got involved for salary cap reasons, but at the end of the day, it's Luka for AD and a first-round pick. And Luka is 25. AD is 31. Had some injury issues, so is Luka. Dallas is really going to have to run out the PR machine. They're going to need Tokyo Rose, whoever the Kremlin had. They're going to have to really get out there and push their side of this because the he didn't want to get in shape thing is really not going to – I just don't even understand who in their department said that's a good thing to do. Well, let's go back. From everything Nico Harrison, the GM for the Dallas Mavericks, said – They only made one call. That was to Los Angeles. And for the life of me, I do not understand why you're not talking to the other 28 teams in the association. I mean, Bill Simmons, he's the GOAT. He was bringing it up like, why are they not talking to other people? Let's go back 6 months, year, whatever, 8 months. The New York Knicks gave up 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, who is not a top 1 or a top 2 option. This guy isn't even in Luka's. Luka was better than Mikal Bridges when Luka was 16. And I'm not putting Mikal Bridges down. Good player. It was probably a fair deal. This one reminds me of when the Indians sold Manhattan for $24. You know who the happiest guy in this world is? I'm going to tell you who the happiest guy is. Joe Shane, the GM of the New York Giants. Because now he is not the stupidest human being running a sports franchise in America. He thought this whole week was going to be, if you saw the Hard Knocks series, there was a lot of behind the scenes where Joe Shane was like, I don't think we should pay Saquon Barkley the money. He's really not worth it. I'd rather get the offensive line. Yeah, worked out real well. Saquon took off the jersey, had the S on his chest, and just had a stellar MVP type year, right? So now Joe Shane doesn't have to hear about this all week. Thank you. I'm sure he is sending roses and chocolates to Nico Harrison down there in Dallas. Like, wow, thank you for taking the stupidest GM label off me. I so appreciate it. Now, I heard Charles Barkley talking about it. He said, this is kind of a fair trade. AD's a really good player. He's 31. He's 31. And who's doing that? Who is doing a guy who took his team, literally grabbed him on the back like King Kong does, and says, we're going to the finals? Yeah, they lost in the finals. Boston was just the better team, superior, everything. But how do you not put out a bid for it? You had him for another year and a half. Also, he was going to resign. Now, here's where the difficult question comes. This has to come from ownership. It has to. The GM, no matter how powerful he thinks, he is not trading this guy without the permission of the ownership. Now, the Adelsons are the owners. They took over from Mark Cuban, whatever that all is. I'm not sure. It seems to me, it seems really foggy. I'm not inside the weeds there, but it's just a weird thing. And they said, well, they're insinuating he's not a $345 million Supermax player. If he's not, who is? Let me give you a little stat and try and get your head around this. In 6 years in the league, Luka Doncic has been a first-team All-Star 5 times. That's more than Steph Curry, who's only made it 4. Try and get your head around that. This guy I'm a Boston fan. Honestly, this would have been like us trading Larry Bird in his 4th year. Like, literally, let's just burn down the town. It's kind of like, I got to watch my language here, when we traded Mookie Betts. That's the only comparison I can come up with. We have a generational player. Granted, he isn't Mookie Betts wasn't as untouchable as Luka Doncic, but for me, it was like, wow, we're trading Mookie Betts. What are we doing? Oh, good, they're taking David Price. That's great. I feel better now. We don't have to pay luxury tax. Like, F you, John Henry. In comparison, the Sacramento Kings sent DeAndre Fox to the Spurs. The Kings got Zach LaVine, good player, 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks for a guy who's not even an all-star, a guy who's not even eligible for a Supermax. I mean, on the surface, what were we doing? I mean, I want to say they were getting 30 cents on the dollar, but that might be generous. I mean, really? What kind of idiot is Nico Harrison? And honestly, I guess in the way it's a good thing for him because he already lined up his next job as the assistant GM for the Lakers whenever he gets fired. Because this is like trading Babe Ruth. I was thinking about in the association, going through teams, and how many teams have ever had a player that was as transformative and as good as Luka Doncic. The Clippers never had anybody like that. The Kings didn't have anybody like that. The Denver Nuggets, they got Jokic. I'm gonna be brave enough to say the Suns have never had. Walter Berry was good. Charles Barkley was real good, but he wasn't this guy at 25. You start going through the league. Houston Rockets. Okay, Hakeem. All right, Moses Malone. Okay. Spurs, they had Timmy D. You start working your way up. The Bulls obviously had Michael Jordan. Milwaukee, Giannis currently. Kareem back in the day. I'm going to be bold enough to say that New Jersey or the New York Nets and the New York Knicks haven't ever had a player as good as Luka Doncic. The Celtics obviously have. Philly had Iverson. Has Atlanta? Was Dominique Wilkins as good as Luka Doncic? All right. I'm not going to fight it. I'm not. You got Orlando, Miami, yeah. D Wade, Shaq. I'll even say Penny at one point was that good. Detroit, Isaiah was just lights out, but I don't know, was he as indispensable as Luka? I mean, Isaiah had a great team around him. I hate to downplay Zeke, but man, I just don't think he was as good as Luka. You know, New Orleans, Utah had Hall of Famers, Malone, Stockton, but neither one of them is as good as Doncic. I mean, the guy literally playing for the Bad News Bears took him to the World Series. I mean, he did. They didn't win, but man, in the last 3 years, he took them to a conference final and the NBA championship final. I mean, what more is the guy going to do? I was watching the press conference today with Nico Harrison, and Jason Kidd was next to him, and that looked like a hostage video. Jay Kidd was like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do here? And Nico was like, I did this. Ownership had to sign off on this. There's no way he did this on his own. And I guess the question is, and I feel bad for all the Maverick fans, because at the end of the day, to me, it's worse than when they traded Mookie Betts. And literally, that was like a 6-month hangover when we traded him. And I was like, this just can't be real. And then after the trade happened, and I don't know if this is what's going to happen for Dallas fans, you start trying to tell yourself, well, maybe he wasn't as good as I thought. Maybe I did a little hero worship. You didn't. He was that good. He was that great. Being a little overweight doesn't seem to be bothering Jokic, so he wants another grinder sandwich. I don't care if this guy is dribbling the ball up the court with a martini glass in his hand. You just let this guy do what he does. You ain't finding this guy. And, and then they say, well, defense wins championships. That's what Nico said. Well, yeah, that's great. But now what are you going to do with 40% of your offense gone? Good luck. Good luck when you come up against OKC and that anaconda that is their defense. Oh, good luck for 48 minutes there. You better hope Adam Silver moves to 10-minute quarters, because otherwise you're effed. And I mean effed with a big F. All right. God bless you. I don't even know what to tell you, Dallas fans. I'm just glad I'm a Boston fan. That's all I can say. All right. Hit the like and subscribe button. Leave your comments. Tell me what you think about the trade. And I will see you tomorrow.